The damage from a covert narcissist isn't a scar. It's a change in the very air you breathe. It's the quiet erosion of who you are, so subtle you might have blamed yourself for the crumbling foundation. This isn't about loud fights or public humiliation. This is about the silent, invisible arrows that make you question your own mind. If you've ever felt lost in a fog of confusion after dealing with someone, constantly second-guessing your own reality, then you are in the right place. Let's talk about the 7 personality traits that often develop in victims of this hidden abuse. Recognizing them is the first step to finding your way back to yourself. Number 1, chronic self-doubt. This is the cornerstone of the damage. Before this relationship, you might have been a decisive person, confident in your choices and your perception of the world. But the covert narcissist is a master of gaslighting, that subtle art of making you question what you see, what you hear, and what you feel. They don't scream that you're wrong. Instead, they'll say things like, "I never said that. You must be remembering it incorrectly." Or, "You're being too sensitive again." Over time, these small, persistent denials act like water dripping on a stone. Eventually, the stone wears away. You start to believe their version of reality over your own. This blossoms into a deep-seated self-doubt that affects every area of your life. You second-guess your decisions at work. You hesitate to state your opinion among friends. You can't even trust your own memory of simple events. It feels like your internal compass was deliberately broken, and you were left spinning, unable to trust your own sense of direction. You were taught to mistrust the one person you should always be able to count on, yourself. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a wound inflicted upon you. Number 2, the constant need to overexplain. Do you find yourself writing long text messages or emails to explain your feelings or actions, trying to make sure there's absolutely no room for misunderstanding? This is a trained response. In a relationship with a covert narcissist, your intentions were constantly twisted. Your simple statements were dissected for hidden meanings they never had. You were accused of things you never intended. To survive, you learned to build a fortress of words around every thought and feeling. You felt the need to provide evidence, a detailed history, and a list of reasons for why you felt a certain way, just to be heard and hopefully understood. This habit doesn't just disappear when the relationship ends. You carry it with you. You might over-explain why you're a few minutes late, or why you prefer one restaurant over another. You preemptively defend yourself in conversations where no attack is coming. It's because you lived in a courtroom where you were always the one on trial, and you learned that without overwhelming evidence, you would always be found guilty. You are not an anxious person. You are a person who was trained to believe your simple truth was never enough. Number 3, deep-rooted people-pleasing. Many victims of this abuse are naturally kind and empathetic people. The narcissist saw this and used it. Your desire to be helpful and caring was turned into a tool for their control. You learned that the only way to achieve a moment of peace was to anticipate their needs and meet them. Your own needs, wants, and desires were pushed to the side. They didn't matter. What mattered was keeping the other person calm, happy, or at least neutral. People-pleasing became a survival strategy. It was how you managed their unpredictable moods and their silent disapproval. After the relationship, this behavior becomes almost automatic. You might agree to things you don't want to do, just to avoid a potential conflict. You might feel a surge of anxiety at the thought of saying no. You feel responsible for the happiness of others, often at the expense of your own. Your worth became tied to how much you could give, because the narcissist taught you that your value was not in who you are, but in what you could do for them. Reclaiming your right to say no is an act of liberation. Number 4, hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is a state of being on high alert all the time. Your nervous system is in a constant state of readiness, scanning for danger. In a normal dangerous situation, this is helpful, but with a covert narcissist, the danger was never a physical threat. It was a subtle shift in their tone of voice, the slight tightening of their jaw, or the way they would go silent. You became an expert at reading these microscopic cues. You had to. It was the only way to predict an oncoming storm of silent treatment, passive aggression, or guilt tripping. Your mind was always working, trying to stay one step ahead to prevent things from getting bad. This state of high alert is exhausting, and it doesn't just switch off. In the world outside of that relationship, you're still scanning. A friend's slightly off-tone text message can send you into a spiral of worry. A boss's neutral expression in a meeting can feel like a sign of disapproval. Your body is still braced for an impact that is no longer coming. It's not that you're overreacting. It's that your alarm system was forced to be on for so long that it forgot how to turn off. Number 5, a faded or lost sense of self. Who were you before them? What music did you love? What were your hobbies? What dreams did you have for your own life? For many victims, these questions are surprisingly hard to answer. A covert narcissist slowly molds you into a reflection of themselves, or rather, into a character that best serves their needs. Your interests were dismissed as silly unless they aligned with theirs. Your friends were subtly criticized until you stopped seeing them. Your opinions were gradually replaced by their more intelligent ones. This happens so slowly, it's like a tide going out. You don't notice it until you look up and see an empty shoreline where the ocean used to be. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. You've spent so long being an accessory to someone else's life that you've forgotten how to be the main character in your own. The emptiness you may feel is not a lack of personality. It is the space left behind by a person who took up all the room. That space is now yours to reclaim and fill with everything that is truly you. Number 6, a tendency toward self-isolation. The covert narcissist works to isolate you. They create drama with your family. They plant seeds of doubt about your friends. They want to be your entire world, the only voice you listen to. Over time, you may have pulled away from your support system to keep the peace in your relationship. But after the relationship, a different kind of isolation takes over. You isolate yourself. Part of it is shame. You feel embarrassed that you let this happen to you, and you worry that others won't understand. How do you explain an abuse that had no bruises, only a deep hollowing out of your soul? Another part of it is exhaustion. Interacting with people feels draining because you're still hypervigilant and trying to please everyone. Being alone feels safer. But this self-isolation reinforces the lies the narcissist told you, that you are alone, that no one gets it, and that you are the problem. Reaching out, even to just one trusted person, is a powerful act of defiance against the abuser's narrative. Number 7, a high tolerance for poor treatment. This is perhaps one of the most dangerous and lasting traits. The abuse from a covert narcissist is gradual. It's like being a frog in a pot of water that is slowly heated up. You don't realize it's boiling until it's too late. The little insults, the backhanded compliments, the forgotten promises, the constant subtle put-downs, they slowly lower your standards for what is acceptable in a relationship. Your baseline for respect gets eroded, bit by bit. As a result, you might find yourself accepting poor behavior from others, in friendships, at work, or in new relationships. A disrespectful comment that should be a red flag barely registers on your radar. You've been conditioned to accept crumbs of affection and respect as if they were a feast. You were trained to see a breadcrumb as a banquet. Learning to recognize your own worth and demand to be treated with basic decency and respect is a critical part of healing. It means recalibrating your expectations and remembering that you deserve a whole meal, not just the leftovers. Healing from this is not about forgetting. It's about understanding. Understanding that these traits are not who you are. They are the scars of a battle you fought in silence. They are the coping mechanisms of a person who survived an invisible war. Knowing this is the first step to reclaiming your compass. It's the beginning of trusting your own mind again, of speaking your truth without over-explaining, of putting your own needs first, of letting your nervous system rest, of rediscovering your true self, of reconnecting with the world, and of remembering the high standards you deserve. You survived. Now it's time to live. If this video helped you feel seen and understood, please give it a like to help others find it. Subscribe for more content that helps you understand and heal from difficult relationships. And now I want to ask you a question. For those who feel comfortable sharing, which of these traits resonated with you the most? Your story in the comments might be the validation someone else needs to see today. Thank you for watching.